In 1889, Franz von Stuck painted a force moving through the night, a black horse, a weapon raised against a dark sky, a procession of bodies swallowed by shadow, and at the center, a rider wrapped in red. The painting was called The Wild Hunt. That same year, Adolf Hitler was born. Decades later, viewers noticed something disturbing in the rider's face. The dark forelock, the small mustache, the rigid expression of command. The resemblance can feel impossible. But resemblance is not evidence, and a date is not a prophecy. So what are we really seeing? Did a 19th-century painting anticipate a future dictator? Or did history teach us to search the past for signs after the catastrophe had already occurred? Subscribe as we uncover the hidden histories inside familiar images, because the strangest part of this painting may not be the face. It may be what history taught us to see in it. Franz von Stuck did not simply paint darkness. He created places where darkness could appear beautiful, controlled, and dangerously close. In his Munich villa, architecture, sculpture, furniture, and painting formed a single theatrical environment. Classical bodies stood beside strange masks. Gold ornament framed deep shadow. Again and again, Stuck returned to the border between civilization and instinct. Desire became punishment. Intelligence became defiance. Human figures became mythological, predatory, or possessed. Stuck was not predicting Hitler. He was painting impulses that modern society preferred to believe it had conquered. But the Wild Hunt did not begin with him. For centuries, stories of supernatural riders crossed northern Europe. The details changed from place to place, but the emotional structure remained. The hunt was heard before it was seen. Hooves above the rooftops, hounds inside the wind, the dead following a leader through the winter sky. It was more than a ghost story. It was an image of collective momentum. A force begins moving. Individuals disappear inside it. Anyone in its path is swept aside, transformed, or absorbed. In some traditions, the leader was Wotan, the Germanic form of Odin. Wotan was associated with wisdom, poetry, sacrifice, magic, frenzy, war, and the dead. He pursued knowledge, but also released forces that reason could not control. That contradiction matters. Can a culture admire an image of absolute power without eventually imitating it? Tell us in the comments. Does the resemblance feel like real evidence or like meaning created by hindsight? Now look at the painting without thinking about Hitler. Its composition behaves like a machine. The horse and rider dominate the foreground. They are not entering the scene. They are already breaking through it. The movement presses toward the viewer. The weapon continues that motion. The bodies behind the rider lose their individuality and merge into one agitated mass. Then there is the red cloak. It is the only urgent warmth inside a cold, dark world. At first it seems like a simple accent, but the longer we look, the more it feels like a warning. Nothing in the painting is calm. Even the empty sky seems pressurized. The image does not show the beginning of the hunt. It shows the moment when stopping it already feels impossible. And now, the comparison. The forelock, the mustache, the hard gaze. Once the rider is placed beside photographs of Hitler, the similarities seem to multiply. But human perception is suggestible. We do not simply record images. We search them for patterns. Once someone tells us what to see, the mind emphasizes every match and ignores every difference. Historical knowledge becomes a transparent layer over the canvas. We are no longer seeing only von Stuck's rider. We are seeing the 20th century looking backward through us. That does not make the resemblance meaningless, but it means that a powerful resemblance can prove almost nothing about intention, influence, or prediction. Hitler's relationship with art was real. Before entering politics, he attempted to become an artist. Later, architecture, ceremony, symbols, and mass spectacle became central to the way his regime presented power. The Nazi state used culture as a political weapon, but the direct connection to the Wild Hunt remains uncertain. Later writers described von Stuck as one of Hitler's favorite painters. From there, a more dramatic legend developed, that Hitler saw this painting, recognized himself in Wotan, and copied the writer's appearance. The problem is evidence. Admiring an artist does not prove knowledge of every work. An interest in Germanic mythology does not establish direct imitation. No reliable primary record clearly proves that this painting shaped Hitler's appearance or political identity. The documented connection is weak. The symbolic connection is far stronger. If you value investigations that separate evidence from legend, support the film by leaving a like. Myth did not cause Nazism. That explanation would be too simple and dangerously comforting. The regime rose through political choices, economic crisis, organized violence, propaganda, anti-Semitism, and the destruction of democratic resistance. But mythology gave it a visual language. It allowed a modern movement to present itself as something older than politics, a restoration, a destiny, a force returning from the memory of the nation. The leader became more than an individual. He was staged as the center of a procession. Monumental architecture made ordinary people appear small. Torchlight removed normal time. Repeated gestures turned thousands of separate bodies into a single image. The crowd was encouraged not only to support power, but to enter its mythology. This is why the Wild Hunt feels politically disturbing. Not because ghosts caused history, because the structure of the myth was useful. One leader, one direction, unstoppable movement, no moral space outside the procession. In 1936, Carl Jung published an essay titled Wotan. He suggested that Germany's political frenzy could be interpreted as the return of an ancient archetypal force. His interpretation remains controversial. Archetypes cannot replace economics, institutions, ideology, or individual responsibility. Psychology must never turn historical crimes into fate or possession. But Jung understood something important. Modern people do not stop responding to ancient patterns simply because they live inside modern institutions. A myth can survive without being consciously believed. It survives in gestures, symbols, fantasies of purification, and the desire for a leader who appears larger than ordinary human limits. And this leads to the most unsettling possibility. Perhaps von Stuck did not paint Hitler before Hitler existed. Perhaps political figures learn to inhabit images that already exist. A painting can preserve a posture of command. A myth can preserve a fantasy of destiny. A culture can preserve the outline of the leader it has been trained to recognize. Then, when a real person adopts those symbols and gestures, the resemblance feels supernatural. But nothing supernatural is required. The image does not need to predict the man. The man only needs to understand the power of becoming the image. This is not a proven chain of influence. It is a philosophical possibility, but it reveals why archetypes become dangerous when they are transformed into political models. They make political choices feel ancient. They make constructed identities feel inevitable. They turn a leader who can be resisted into something that appears destined to return. Share this film with someone who might see the same painting differently, because that difference is part of the story. Now remove the photographs. Remove the rallies. Remove the face history taught us to place inside the frame. The writer becomes uncertain again. Perhaps it was only a coincidence. Perhaps the resemblance was enlarged by hindsight. Perhaps an ancient archetype found a modern political costume. The past does not contain fixed prophecies waiting to be discovered. It contains images, and images can sleep for centuries before history gives them a new face. The most frightening possibility is not that a painting predicted a dictator. It is that societies keep creating images of domination, destiny, and unstoppable power. And sooner or later, someone may stop treating those images as stories and begin treating them as instructions.